So I'm just going to run through a couple of things in regards to your turbo to up pipe gasket sealing, or if you've got a leak. Basically, the story behind mine is I've constantly had a leak. I've had, here, let me show you. I've had various different headers. So I've had these factory headers with this aftermarket up pipe. I had these stupid things with a really bad flange here. Now I've got some Sims headers on there, and twice now I've tried to fix the up pipe leak, the gasket leak. And the main thing is, because when I have my driver's side window open, the exhaust fumes come in, and when my wife is in the car, it really sort of irritates her. So the leak I'm talking about is, you can see this 20G here that I had. I believe when I had this one on, I had and I didn't know any better, I had a really crappy single layer Chinese gasket that was just lying around. I didn't realize that how important it was to use proper Subaru, or there are some other gasket options that I will talk about later on. But basically, when you take the turbo off, you can see here it's been leaking. Now, is that? No, so that's not where it's been leaking on this one. Currently on the car, and I'll show you, it's been leaking down here. So I'll show you how I solved it, or diagnosed it. Diagnosed that it was the up pipe. So what I did was I got one of these pool inflators. So this high volume air pump. I bought that from, it's called SUPERCHEAP here, but, auto parts store. And it's for inflating blow-up pools and that kind of thing. It comes as a pump, and then it's got these adapters. So there's your adapters. Goes on there. And what I had to do, I'll show you my exhaust in a minute, but we've got a shop here in Australia called Clark Rubber. And this is actually like, I don't know, a cap on the end of a table leg or something. And what I did was, with my trusty hole saw here, I just held it and drilled a hole in it. And then that actually fits on the adapter, like that. And then I stuck that in the exhaust, connected it to a battery, turned it on, and that forced air up the exhaust. Then what I did was I used this aerosol leak detector, and when you spray this foam on there, it bubbles up and you can see where the leak is. I'm not going to run it now for you because I've already annoyed the neighbours enough today. But to find the leak detection spray, a little air pump, an adapter to your exhaust. I'll bring this with me and I'll show you on the car. So here's our culprit here. And my exhaust, you can't quite see it, but it's got the silencer in it. And that, gonna get all covered in dirt. That just pops straight onto the silencer and forces air all the way up the exhaust. And you can actually solve leaks at your flanges along the way if needs be. But with this, so these headers, a bit hard to see, but they're equal length, but they use a normal 2-litre sump. So there's a whole big spaghetti-ness of pipes up here. These ones actually go up around and then they go up there, and then these other ones are from the other side. And these are a slip joint header, and originally I thought it was the slip joints that was leaking. Now normally you'd see a little bit of black soot, and there isn't any there. So when I hooked up my pump, I sprayed my leak detection spray down there where the up pipe joins, and it was bubbling. Now, this most recent trial, you can see that red gasket stuff there. I was a little bit concerned that the surface of the top of my headers was not very flat. When I did it last time, I left the headers in the car and I took the turbo off. This next time what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the headers off, and the way I'm going to attack it is I need to take the downpipe off and bolt the 3-bolt gasket to the up pipe using a factory Subaru gasket, using the correct torque sequence, and also doing the bolts up to the correct torque. To try and seal the leak, I actually cranked on the bolts as hard as I possibly could. And I think it's really important to start at the top, get that done up and at the right torque sequence, then attach the rest of the exhaust and then bolt it up to the engine. This was also a Grimspeed gasket, which is extra thick. I don't know yet whether you need to use one of those. This one didn't seem to work this time, but I'd put silicone on the bottom, and maybe the silicone was part of the cause. So I'm going to try just a straight plain gasket. I want to take the headers off and try and face the top of the up pipe. I mean, it could be the face on the turbo itself, the exhaust housing that may not be flat. But yeah, not really sure yet. So we'll just... yeah, don't know, like I had the turbo off and I put a ruler. It wasn't this turbo, obviously. It's VF34, so it's a factory Subaru. And in fact, I believe I tested it with a ruler to see if it was flat, and I draw filed it with a file to take up any sort of high spots. So because, see, if you have a look at this, if this bolt hole was, say, here, it would be an even amount of pressure on the gasket from 3 sides. But you've got 2 sides here, and then this one is all the way over here, and that's why mine is leaking from here. If you look closely, you can see where the gasket is somewhat bit into the cast iron on the factory gasket has like a fire ring, sort of a seal, so you can see where this one is bit in. But again, there's all this soot here, and I think it was leaking out there. So anyway, I'll make a video once I've found the solution. But if you want to diagnose a leak with your exhaust, one of these little pumps, a little cap. I mean, you may need to, depending on the size of your exhaust, get a hose pipe and some gaffer tape or whatever, but some sort of high volume air pump and some leak detection spray, and that should help. Let me know if this was helpful. Give us a like if it was. Give us a like anyway. Thanks for watching.